So I'm going to start recording. So I wanted to start off, the stuff that we were doing earlier this week. So solving for that x squared with the square roots. So want to remember our steps. So step one, what was step one again?
Oh, in my notes is because wasn't there supposed to be like an addition?
So I changed step one. So step one to isolate x squared, right? Because I realized,
Miss Perdomo,
yes, John.
I thought the first step was to move.
So that's the thing, is I put that move as the first step, but what happens in this problem, there's no plus or minus, there's no plus 3, plus 2, or whatever. So I can't really move anything there. So I changed step one a little bit so that it's to isolate x squared, meaning get x squared by itself, right? Because now there is something next to that x squared. What is it?
It's so they had us all, they asked 3. We would isolate 3.
Yeah, I want to get that 3 out of there. So this is really 3 times x squared, right? So what's the opposite of multiplication?
Division.
So I want to divide both sides by what?
Hello, Miss Ablo.
Want to have some more?
Can you say that question again, Miss Perdomo?
What am I going to divide both sides by?
You're going to divide both sides by 3. No.
No,
Yeah,
that's
by
right.
3.
By 3. Done. So now I have an x squared equals, and what's 36 divided by 3?
36 divided by 3.
12.
12. Okay. Now, what was my step 2?
After you isolate, don't you have to, it's, I don't know how to explain it, but it's this thing where it's like,
I think John means take the square root.
Exactly.
yes.
So step 2. See, look, we now made it only 3 steps. So take the square root. I don't have my iPod, so the writing is a little funny. So we take the square root of both sides. Right? Now my x squared cancels, leaving me with just x equals what? Plus or minus the square root of 12. And my third and final step, what was it?
Simplify the square root.
So if it's possible, simplify the square root. Okay, so that means I got to do my tree. So give me 2 factors of 12.
6 and 2.
So 6 and 2. Can I simplify any of those numbers?
Yeah, the 6.
To what?
3 and 2.
2 and 3. And now I'm going to look for my pairs. So I have a pair of 2s, right? So what does that mean?
It's plus or minus 2.
Plus or minus 2. What?
Square root.
Square root of what?
Is it 3?
Perfect. 2 square root of 3, right? My 2's came out of the radical because I had a pair, but my 3 didn't have any partner, right? So my 3 had to stay there, meaning I had to leave that 3 inside the radical, okay? So the 2 gets to come out and that 3 has to stay behind, okay? Any questions on that one? We feel a little bit more comfortable with it? Okay, so
Can we do one more?
we are exactly going to do one more. So there's going to be 2 of them on your study guide. So let's do x squared plus, I don't know, 3 equals -2. So again, we're just going to go through our steps. What was step 1 again?
Isolate.
Isolate x squared. So what do I have to do?
Take the 3 out and divide. No, multiply everything by 3. No, divide everything by 3.
Remember, I have to do opposites of what I have, right? So do I have a
Subtract.
Exactly. I don't have multiplication. I don't have any division. So I have to subtract both sides by what?
3.
Good job, John. Subtract both sides by 3. That gives me x squared equals, what is -2 minus 3?
-2 minus 3 is
-5?
-5. Remember, it's the same thing as adding 2 plus 3, but I just have to keep that negative sign. Okay, so step 2. What color did I make step 2? Orange? I don't know. It's gonna be orange now. What is step 2?
Isn't step 2 to, Veronica know the word, but the
Yes. To
Take
take
the
the square root.
so that's taking the square root, which is a little
The radical. That's what it's called.
messed up L, the upside down L.
So I take the
Miss
square
Perdomo,
root.
I'm gonna go get my charger really quickly. I'll be right back.
Okay. So Veronica, tell me what happens after I take the square root.
Oh, you take out like the 2 from the x, right? Yeah.
Yep. So that x becomes by itself, and then what?
If possible, simplify the -5.
Well, -5 is going to stay there, right? It's just going to be plus or minus the square root of -5. So then step 3, if possible, simplify the square root. Now, what do I have here that's different from the other one that I just did?
You can't really like simplify 5. It's only just like 1 and 5.
Right, so if I do my tree, it's only 1 and 5. There's no pairs, there's nothing else I can do. So I can't take anything out of that. But what else is different from the other one?
It's a negative.
It is a negative. So remember that this is the same thing as saying the square root of -1 times the square root of 5. And what is my square root of -1 equal?
Wait, can you repeat the question?
So what is another way I can call the square root of -1? Another name for it.
Is it I? Is it
It is exactly I. Okay, so whenever I see that negative radical, that negative square root, I kind of want you to, in the beginning of step 3, if there's a negative, automatically take out an I and leave whatever is left over. And then you can work on the tree, right? I think it's a bit better to do it that way because you get rid of that negative and you don't have to worry about it while you're doing the factoring. Okay, so we'll put a little star with a note. If there's a negative square root, take out the I. Okay. So John, what you missed is that we have here now x is equal to plus or minus the square root of -5, right? So we know that 5 can only be simplified to 1 times 5, right? There's no pair there. So 5 has to stay inside the radical. But I notice this negative. And this negative is the same thing as saying the square root of -1 times the square root of 5, right? And the square root of -1 is also known as I. Okay? So when I do my step 3, the only thing I can take out is that negative, and I have to put that I outside and then leave everything else inside positive. Okay, so that's why I gave you this hint. So if you're taking your test, right, and you get a negative square root, the first thing you should do, take out the I and then worry about factoring, okay? Because I feel like that's where you guys are gonna slip up a lot, is leaving that negative behind. So if you take it out first, it's already gone. And you don't have to go back. You don't have to worry about it, okay? But that's the final answer, that x equals plus or minus I square root of 5. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, John? Like I said, you guys will get the study guide this week and questions like this will be on it. So you'll get another version of solving problems like this, okay? On your test, there is going to be one square root problem that involves an I, okay? So make sure we know what we're doing with that. But I'm gonna move on to the next thing that's going to be on your test, which is complex numbers. So 3 plus 2y plus, I don't know, 5 minus 5i. Okay, so in here are steps. There's really just 2 steps. The first one is remove parentheses. Parentheses. So this really only changes anything if this in the middle that's connecting them is a negative sign, okay? If it's a positive, I can just rewrite everything as is. Nothing is going to change. Okay, so everything stays exactly the same, right? Because this 5 is going to be positive. So a positive and a positive stays a positive. Positive and a negative stays a negative. So nothing is actually going to change when I remove my parentheses, okay? Step 2 is just to combine like terms, okay? So that means I'm going to combine I wish there was a highlighter. I'm going to combine my 3 and my 5, right? Because they don't have an I. And I'm going to combine my 2 and my negative 5i, right? Those are the two that match up, okay? So I'm going to stick to doing the easier ones first, right? Which is the 3 and the 5. So 3 plus 5 is what?
8.
8. Now I need to do my second ones, which are 2 minus 5. So 2 minus 5 is?
3. No, it would be -3.
Negative 3. Negative 3i. Can't forget that I, right? So again, it's just like saying 5 minus 2, but I keep my larger sign, which is negative. That is my final answer. That's all I have to do for this problem. Okay, we'll do one more. So let's say we have 5 plus 6i minus, I don't know, negative 10 minus, no, plus 3i. Okay, so step 1 is to remove parentheses, right? So there's no sign in front of this set, right? There's no plus, there's no minus, there's nothing there. Since there's nothing there, I can just remove 5 plus 6i from the parentheses. Nothing is going to change. There's nothing there to change it. But now, I should have been writing it in blue. Okay, so this stays the same. So 5 plus 6i. Now I need to distribute that negative sign. So all that means is I multiply everything by a negative. So negative and a negative give me a
Positive.
positive, so plus 10. Negative times a positive give me a
Negative.
negative, so a negative 3i. And then once again, step 2, combine my like terms. So I have a 5 and I have 10. And I have this 6 and negative 3. So what is going to be 5 plus 10?
15.
15. And now I have a plus 6 minus 3. That one's easy, right? 6 minus 3 is what?
3.
3. And it stays positive. So plus 3i. That's it. Easy enough, right? We remember doing this. This is when we did bingo. So now we're going to do the other version. So remember when we did bingo, there was either the adding or subtracting, or there was the multiplying. So we're going to go ahead and do the multiplying. And let's go with 4 plus I. We'll keep it easy. So steps. When it comes to multiplying, my first step is to FOIL. Okay, meaning I multiply the first pairs of numbers. So what is 2 times 4?
Can you say it again, Mr. Dama?
What is 2 times 4?
You are full of surprises, Olive.
2 times 4, isn't it 8?
Now I'm going to do my outside. Look, I'll color coordinate the letters of FOIL.
See, I ate your grits. You can take the girl out the country and the city, but you can't. I don't know
So
who
my
raised.
outside numbers,
Yeah.
2 and 1 I. So what is that going to multiply to?
Now it's time Mama gonna break it. Mama, break it up. Mama like to just sneak and give her stuff, so I give it to her. Let her do it.
Can you say it again? Oh
What
my
is
goodness.
2 times I?
She didn't smell.
2 times 5?
I don't know.
2 times I.
We don't know what I is though.
Well, it's just the square root of -1. But we would treat it like a regular variable. So if it's just a regular variable, that means I'm going to get plus 2I. Because you're right, John. I don't know what the variable would be, so I can't really multiply it. So I just have to put them next to each other. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'm going to do my inside numbers. So what is 3I times 4?
Oh, it's a girl.
3I times 4. We'll just do 3 times 4, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a girl.
So, okay, wait.
You know what?
Let me get this. Wait.
So
We're not gonna don't worry about the I.
Don't worry about the I right now.
So it'd be 12I.
Exactly. It would be 12I. I keep the I hanging out
Okay,
there,
are you done? Now take this.
but I only need to focus on multiplying the 3 and the 4.
You okay open them?
And then my last numbers. So plus 3 times I. Plus 3I times I.
3I times I.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd just be 3 times 3?
Well, no, there wouldn't be a 3,
Yeah.
but it will stay as a 3. Because this is the same as saying 1I. But now the key is whenever I multiply 2 of the same variables. So if I have an x times x, what does that equal?
X.
X what?
X squared.
X squared. Remember, when I don't know what the variable is, what I'm doing is I'm going to add the exponents. But the exponents are always 1 if there's nothing there. So this is really an I1, and this is an I1. So what do I get?
So if 3I plus 3I times 3I would be 3I squared.
3I squared. Exactly. That is exactly what it would be. Okay. Now I need to erase this. So now I need to do my step 2,
Read and understand what they're talking about.
which is combine.
Know how to speak fast and read fast. They highly educated, you know what I'm saying?
like terms.
They highly educated.
My like terms are,
It was so fast.
really right now I only have these 2, right? I only
Mhm.
have that plus 2 plus 12. So what is that going to equal? So my 8 stays where it is. And what is 12 plus 2?
12. 24.
What? 12 plus 2.
24
12 plus 2. Not multiplying.
plus.
12 plus.
14.
This right.
Oh my gosh.
14.
14.
You were multiplying, John. If we were multiplying,
I was like, it's 24. What do you
If we
mean
were-
it's 24?
if we were multiplying, you would have been correct. Look at that. Now I just wrote 12. 14i. And then I have this plus 3i squared. No, I'm not done. Okay. So up here in my little corner, right?
I use a lot of
I said I is equal to the square root of -1. Okay. Well, if that's the case, then that means that I squared is equal to the square root of -1 squared. Do we see that? We can see that if I is equal to the square root of -1, then I squared is just going to carry that square over to it. But now what happens with my square root and my exponent?
What do you mean?
Like what's the relationship between that square root and the exponent?
Aren't they supposed to like multiply or something?
Not multiply, but I think we're trying to say that they're going to cancel, right? They're the opposite of each other, right? Just like multiplication and division are opposites and addition and subtraction are also opposites. The exponent and the square root are opposites, meaning they're going to cancel each other out, leaving my I squared to equal -1. Okay, so if I want to give you guys a little hint, so when there is an I squared involved, change the sign of the coefficient. Meaning that whatever number is it's next to, you need to give it the opposite sign. Okay, so that means that what happens to this 3i squared now? What's going to happen to it?
Is it gonna turn into -3?
Exactly. So it's going to be now 8 minus 3. And then at the end, I'm going to put that 14i because I don't really need to do anything else with it. And your imaginary numbers always get put last, okay? They're not real. We don't want to deal with them too much. We kind of put them at the end. So then what is 8 minus 3?
5.
5 plus 14i. This is my final answer. Okay, this is my A. This gives me an A. So it's not too bad, but we have to remember.
Miss Perdomo?
Yes.
Okay, I have to go to school like right now. It's gonna be late for rehearsal, but I can hear you. But I'm just gonna pack my bag to get ready to leave.
Okay. So we want to do one more problem like that?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's do one more. Veronica, just give me some random numbers.
Okay. 5 plus 7j.
No,
Oh, wait,
7i.
So sorry. And then 13 plus 2i.
All right, so step 1. What steps? Step 1 is to FOIL. So starting with our first numbers, I like to keep it easy, don't we, Veronica? 5 times 13 is what? So if you have to, you do it on the side. Right? 5 times 3 is 15. 5 times 1 is 5. 65. So I have 65. Then my outside numbers. So 5 times 2i.
10i.
So plus 10i. And I'm going to do my inside. That's not the color I picked. My inside. So 7 times 13.
91.
91. So plus 91i. And then my last numbers, which color did I do that in? Green? Maybe. We'll do green.
Yes.
Okay. Try to keep it consistent, but I don't remember all the time. 7 times 2i, or 7i times 2i is going to give me what?
14i to the second power.
Perfect. 14i squared. Now my step 2, combine like terms. So now, once again, I have really at this point only that 10i plus 91i. So what is that going to give me?
101.
101i. Now I have that plus 14i squared. So now what happens with this 14i squared? It becomes what?
Isn't it like negative? Doesn't it say -1 or something?
So looking at my note from the previous one, I squared, change the sign of the coefficient. Remember the coefficient is the number that's next to the I squared. So what happens to 14 then?
Oh, it turns into a negative.
So it becomes a -14. The I squared goes away after that. I don't need to write that I squared again, okay? And then plus 101i. So now I can focus on this right here. So 65 minus 14 is what?
Uh, 51.
51 plus 101i. That is my final answer. So again, I'll rewrite it here. I squared, you change. Change the sign of the coefficient. How do we feel about that one?
I feel like it was like the same as the last one. It's kind of just a review because we did this like with the bingo.
Yeah, we did this with the bingo and we did bingo 2 days in a row, right? So you guys haven't had any other activity 2 days in a row, but I felt like it was important because we were going to start doing problems that involved simplifying with the square roots and everything. And I wanted to make sure that you guys understood that. So we feel good with everything we did today so far.
Yeah.
Yes? Okay. Now, that's all I had for the study guide for today. Do you guys have any questions you want to go through? I'm gonna put the extra credit problem now.
Ms. Perdomo, so it's only like those two types, like what we just did right now, like what we did so far, like in this tutoring, is that the only thing that's gonna be on the test, or is there like other things?
Okay, let me solve this problem and then I will tell you, or not solve the problem, but let me give the extra credit. It's gonna be 2 problems this time. So it's gonna be one that's 3x squared equals 27. And then, so that's problem number 1. Problem number 2 is gonna be, should it be FOIL or addition and subtraction? What do you guys think?
FOIL, or what John wants.
I was saying subtraction.
You want to do subtraction for them? You don't have to do these problems, okay?
Feel free to have some
So
more now.
3 plus 2y minus 4, I don't know, minus 27i. I feel like writing 27. Okay, so this is the extra credit.